They had no other choice. He or she had no other choice. Oh, I don't want to say I hate words, but if there is a sentence that gets me going and in the mood for an argument, this is definitely one of them. They had no other choice. I want to talk about it a little bit because I don't want you to say that about someone, and I don't want you, most importantly, I don't want you to ever believe when someone says that about you. What exactly do I mean by that? Notice I'm not saying people who say I had no other choice. We'll leave that for some other time. I'm talking about people who give excuse for other people's mistakes, and the worst thing is people who, and the worst thing when people try to take away the credit for someone's success, for someone's accomplishments. They had no other choice. When it comes to giving an excuse for someone, it's pretty obvious. You've heard it a bunch of times. They had no other choice. They had no other choice because that's how everyone in their community acted. They had no other choice because they were brought up in a chaotic household. And trust me, I acknowledge how much those things affect the way someone's life develops, someone's life unravels. I know that very well, but there is never such thing as no choice. Or let's say almost never. There is almost never such thing as no choice. But right now I would like to focus more on this other type of supposedly having no choice. Imagine someone loses a ton of weight. Someone gets out of poverty after generations of their family struggling. And there are people who say they had no other choice. I hear it. I cannot say I hear it every single day, but I hear it quite often. You can see it around yourself. Maybe you heard it about yourself, and maybe this is something that we need to challenge ourselves on. Maybe you were the one who was saying that. Oh, someone did something good, someone accomplished something, they had no other choice. We cannot allow ourselves to think that way. We cannot allow ourselves to talk that way. And we cannot allow ourselves to believe when someone says that about us. How, and sorry if this is going to offend you, if this is going to feel like I'm targeting you directly, but how pathetic it is to say about someone's accomplishment, someone's achievement, that they had no other choice but to do that. Sometimes it seems like empathy, you know? Someone was brought up in an abusive household and was struggling with poverty, and now they're a successful businessman. And we say they had no other choice. That's what it means to really have it rough in childhood. He or she had no other choice but to rise out of that. There are people who like to say those things to frame it as a phrase of empathy. There is no empathy there. There is no empathy in taking away the credit for someone's basic human quality and ability of having agency in their life, over their life. I recently heard someone say about a person who lost almost half of their body weight. Imagine that. Imagine losing over almost half of your body weight because they were morbidly obese. And a person I was sitting with made a comment: they would die if they didn't lose that weight. They had no other choice. Okay, so I'm guessing that every morbidly obese person then loses half of their body weight because they simply had no other choice. Or do we have millions of people worldwide dying from obesity? They had no other choice. And I want to acknowledge that it's not always coming from a bad place when we say someone had no other choice. Sometimes it comes from our tendency to romanticize having nothing to turn back to, being only able to move forward. But people forget one thing: there is this option of staying stuck. There is this option of shriveling up, falling on the floor, and whining about how hard you have it. And a lot of people do that. So to say, when someone had it rough, that they succeeded because they had no other choice, even if it's coming from a good place, even if there is no bad intent, even if we are not trying to take away the credit, we are still not acknowledging that they had other choice or other choices, and it is not a given that a person who has nothing to turn back to will succeed. So why I'm talking about this, because as I said, maybe you were unknowingly taking away the credit from someone else, but maybe you have heard that being said about you and you believed it. That happened to me, and that's actually how I came to realize this. And maybe that's why I'm so passionate when talking about it. Maybe that's why I think it's so important to talk about it, because I don't want it to happen to you. I made a big turnaround in my life, and I started believing that I had no other choice. I started believing because I've heard it other people. I've heard other people say it. I don't believe it was coming from a bad intent, and I was lucky to have loving people in my life who care about me, point to the fact that I had other choice, and point to the fact that my achievements, or let's say the turnaround that I made in life, were the results of my own choices and the risks I've taken. But I did start to believe at one point that I had no other choice, because of what I was hearing about by some people who were not so close to me, and also by simply accepting the narrative that is told about many other people that have done something similar in their life, constantly hearing that they had no other choice. I started believing that. 2 years ago, in January 2022, I finally left my home country of Montenegro after, at that point, having spent 2 years there living everything but a normal life. At that point, it was almost 2 full years of me not being able to go out of my house and spend time as normal people spend their time, because there was a real risk, and actually a confirmed risk, of someone taking my life. A specific group of people intent on taking my life. Why would anyone want to take my life? I don't want to go too deep into my personal story, and I don't want to make this video about that story, but let's just say that a person close to me, as close as it can be, made a mistake of getting involved in things that he shouldn't have get involved, and the best way to hurt that person was to hurt me in the most extreme way possible. My situation is pretty extreme, so maybe it's a bad example for the point that I'm trying to make. Maybe after hearing a part of my story or the basic overview of it, you'll say, wow, this guy really had no other choice. And as I said, I've also believed that. But that's not the case. That's not the case, and after all, this is a personal example, the most personal that I can give, so I think it's fair, if I'm trying to make a statement, if I'm passionate about this issue, I think it's fair to give a personal example. And there is a really simple way to show how there is always another choice. I'm not the only person in this situation that I know of in my country. And out of those people who have been made targets because of the mistakes of their siblings or other family members, I know many of them who have settled, and out of those people who have been made targets because of the mistakes of their siblings or other family members, I know many of them who have decided to stay in their home country, stay in their hometown, and to settle for living, as we say, with 4 eyes open, living, turning around their shoulder all the time to see if there is someone behind them. But I don't want to make this video about my story, and it's a touchy subject. We'll leave it for another time if you're interested in it, and to the extent of details that I can share, because I definitely cannot share all or even most details. But the point that I was trying to make is that If you have it good, people will discredit you on the basis that simply you had it good. You had everything that was necessary to succeed and to accomplish something. If you have it bad, you had no other choice. You cannot control what other people think and say about you, but at least you can refrain from being that person, who discredits others on the basis of they having no other choice. There is always a choice. If there wasn't a choice, there wouldn't be such a thing as a great comeback story, a great underdog story. There would be nothing exceptional about those stories if everyone acted the same way when their back was against the wall. So what I wish for you, besides not being that person who discredits others, is not discrediting yourself and not believing others when they do. There is always a choice. There is always a choice. And if you have made an achievement, an accomplishment that's worth talking about, it's not because you had no other choice. It's precisely because you made the right choices and took the right actions to get to that place. You made the sacrifices that other people were not willing to make. There is always a choice, friends. So give yourself the credit that you deserve. It's starting to snow. Actually, it's been snowing for the most of this video, but now it's getting kind of heavy. So I would like to end it here because it's too cold for my liking. But before I end it, I would like to ask you something or to share something with you, and then you can give me some feedback. I received some constructive criticism from my girlfriend. She said that my video setup, or that is the lack of my video setup and me recording these videos so casually, could be interpreted by some of you as me not really caring, me not taking this seriously. She knows how much I care, and I hope that most of you do, but I am curious about it because, to be completely honest, the only reason that I'm recording videos so casually is because it allows me to relax, because I'm still not fully comfortable with making these videos. I'm just making them because I want to and I feel that I have to. So recording them casually gives me a sense of, gives me that feeling of as if I'm talking to a friend. I would like to move on to a slightly higher production, never something that is so polished that it seems fake. But of course, I would like something higher quality, a more serious setup. But I'm curious, what do you think so far about these videos being in different settings? And even if they are in same settings, do they seem too casual? Do they seem like I'm just making them as I go through my day and not really putting too much effort into it? Because I can tell you that I spend probably the whole day thinking about what I'm going to be talking in the video. It's not as if it's just something I do during the day and I don't really care about. I hope you feel that so far. But I am curious if I should step it up a notch in terms of setup and have something that is more stable and potentially more recognizable in the future. So yeah, those are some of my thoughts. Should I make a concrete video setup where I show up every day looking more professional, or can we keep it like this for, I don't know, for the near future? Let me know. I'm curious about it. That's it. Subscribe, like, comment. Tell me, if you were in a situation where you believed that you had no other choice, do you have the tendency to tell that about other people? To say that about other people? What are your thoughts on this idea of people having no other choice but to succeed? Do you believe there is really a situation where someone has no other choice than to succeed? Let me know. I would like to hear. I'm open to people disagreeing with me about this. That's it. Stay strong, love life, never feel sorry for yourself, and know that there is always a choice.